Welcome to the Cedar Arrows Podcast. My name is Rebecca, and I live on a small homestead in Alabama with my husband and our 6 children and a whole menagerie of critters. I am so glad that you have found my channel and that you have decided to spend some of your time with me today, and I hope that you will find something here that you enjoy. It has been far too long since I recorded last. It's been nearly a year, actually. When I started this last fall, I had the goal of recording every other week, and that worked for a little while, and then I kind of got out of the habit, the routine, holidays and busyness and, some minor illnesses here and there, and I just got out of the routine. And I have thought so many times over this past year that I needed to get back into it because I really do enjoy this, and I have received such lovely feedback and so much encouragement and such a warm welcome. And every time I would plan to do this, something would come up and keep me from it. And so it has just been a crazy time. One thing after another, So it's been a busy year. Things are good. Everyone is healthy and well. It's just really busy. We now have 2 15-year-olds that we are teaching to drive at the same time. And the 3rd child will be 15 next month, and so we'll be getting started with her. And it's just nonstop with animals and homeschooling and church events and youth group and many, many blessings, and just very busy. But I am determined we're going to try this again, and I hope that I will be able to stick to a better routine this time. I appreciate your patience with me and your encouragement. I've received messages over the last few months from several different people saying they hope to see me again. And so thank you for waiting and being kind and patient with me, and I'm thrilled to be back. Because it has been so long, there's no way I can go over all the things that I have made in the last year, but I thought I would just show you a couple of my more recent finishes and then start fresh with the things that I'm working on now. So the first thing I want to show you is this cowl. This is the Star Shower Cowl by Hillary Smith Callis. I've knit it once before. I've showed it on the podcast before. It is one of my most worn, most loved pieces, and this one has also become one of my most loved and most worn pieces. I specifically chose this yarn because we were getting ready to go to Alaska, and I wanted some Alaskan yarn to work on our travels. One of our dearest friends got married in Alaska in September. My husband was in the wedding, and it was just an amazing experience, but we decided also if we were going that far away from home for a weekend, for a wedding, we might as well travel around a little bit more and see some more things. So we spent 10 days there, 10 days away from home, 8 days in Alaska. About half of that time was with friends and family celebrating the wedding, and then we traveled from Fairbanks, where the wedding was, down to Denali, and then from Denali to Anchorage, and from Anchorage we went to Seward and went on a fjords cruise. It was just an incredible few days. So I really wanted something to work on during that time that would kind of be a themed, I love matchy-matchy themed pieces, themed projects. So I wanted some Alaskan yarn for that trip. So I found this yarn on Etsy at Alaska Venture Co. Stephanie, the dyer, is just a lovely person. She has so many beautiful colorways, and it was actually very hard to choose what I wanted to work with. So she actually messaged back and forth with me a little bit and kind of helped me narrow down my choices, and I am just thrilled with this. I used a sock set of hers. The green is called Clover, and the brownish gold is called Nugget, and I love it. One of the things that I really love about this green is that it's so, I don't know if that's picking up very well, but it's so tonal, so variegated, so many beautiful shades of green. And I thought it was pretty before I went to to Alaska, but then as we were traveling, we took the train, and so we just had gorgeous scenery the whole way from in between each of the cities we stopped in while we were there, and just all of the different shades of green that we could see out our windows were incredible, and I felt like she captured that so beautifully with this colorway. So this is definitely one of my favorite pieces and has many beautiful memories woven into it, and I am just thrilled with the way it turned out. I think it's beautiful. So other finished objects, we are now full swing into gift knitting season. We are in what we call birthday season here. Most of the birthdays, really all but mine, are kind of in the same 6 or 7 months of the year. So kids started having birthdays this fall, and between that and Christmas, I'm knitting pretty constantly. You may remember that I knit socks for everybody in my household for birthdays and Christmas. So between, like I was saying, between all the birthdays that happen in the fall and the winter and Christmas, I am kind of knitting my fingers off this time of year. So this is the first pair of socks that will go in a Christmas stocking. This is for my middle son, Jason. I knit this in Knit Picks Felici, which is one of the kids' favorite yarns. There's this crease here because they've been folded up, but someday maybe they'll be blocked on his feet. The boys all like a 10-inch leg because they typically wear their knit socks with their dress clothes, and they want, the long leg. They don't want any gap between pant leg and sock. So now that they have growing, larger, almost man-sized feet, some of them, and my oldest would definitely, these socks take a while. So I like to get a head start on these, and these are usually my purse project, the thing that goes around town with me or wherever I happen to be. So that's one pair that's ready to go in his stocking. It's fun because they all know that they're going to get socks. They see me working on socks. I'm sure they probably have their own little suspicions as to what pair is for whom, but nobody ever says anything. And then this is the last thing they get from their stocking, tucked all the way into the toe of their stocking every Christmas. And even as teenagers, they're excited to get them. So it's always fun to give them. So that's one pair. This is for my middle daughter. I thought these blues and greens and purples, these dark kind of moody earthy colors, are perfect for her. This is Knit Circus yarns. I don't remember the colorway. I won this in a giveaway years ago and kind of had them in mind for her all this time, but didn't start on it till this summer. So these have been put back for a while, but these will either be her birthday or Christmas pair. Her birthday is in December, so she gets hers close together. But it's a very, just kind of a squishy, a little more rustic wool, and I think she's going to love it. So that's two pairs. I do appreciate, I will mention, I appreciate that the girls want a shorter leg. This is actually a little bit longer than she would choose, but I got carried away looking at the colors and forgot what I was doing. So she's not going to have the shorty that she usually likes, but I still think she will love them. But after knitting 3 pairs with this 10-inch leg, it's really nice to have the shorter, good grief, the shorter leg with the girls' socks. So that's 2 down. And then here is my third. This will be for my youngest son. Excuse me. This is the Crazy Sock Ladies scrappy stripy socks, I believe. Scrappy stripy, I never can remember the order there. But I used her idea, her kind of instructions. I made the leg a little bit longer, like I mentioned. The boys all like a long leg. So this is 10 inches as well. So I did 10 rows for each mini, and then I repeated that a second time. Repeated it anyway. So the stripes here are made with minis. I used Kimber's Cozy Creations mini skein set that were called Summer Sock camp from last year, I believe, 2022. And I've had these in mind for him for a long time. I knew these colors were perfect for him. And so I finally pulled them out a couple of weeks ago and knit these socks up. The main color here is from the Yarnberry. This is her, I can't remember the exact name, but it's the Little House in the Big Woods colorway. I knit myself a pair of socks with the sock set that she made, and then had enough left over to do the body of this sock for my son. And I just love the way they turned out. I think they're lovely. So this sock is completely finished. And then I have all these ends to weave in on this sock. I told myself as I started, you're gonna have a lot of ends to weave in and you should do those as you go. And then I didn't. I tend to read and knit at the same time, and I would get to the point where it was, would be time. I usually will try to do, as I finish a color, I'll weave in a couple of ends and then, really do it as I go. But every time it was kind of the right time that I felt like would be my natural time to start weaving in a couple of ends, I didn't want to stop reading. So I saved these for the very end, which I said I wouldn't do. I am such a process knitter that even this part, like these have been sitting in my house for days, like this. So I sat and watched podcasts one day while I did this sock, and I plan on doing this one this afternoon the same way. I'll just turn on a podcast and knock that out. But yeah, I'm such a process knitter that a sweater can sit without buttons for days, and until I'm actually needing to give it to the recipient or whatever, the finishing work is not my favorite. So that's my toxic trait. But yeah, kids are with my parents today, so I have all the things out and can talk about all the things while they're gone, and I'll just do this afternoon. And then that will be able to be put away with the gift socks. So I'm always, like I said, kind of knitting my fingers off at this point in the year, trying to make sure that I have all the Christmas socks done. I really like to have them done before December 1st, so I can just really enjoy other things during December, maybe some last minute gifts for other people, or just the thing I want to work on. So I doubt that I will have all of them done by the end of the month this time, but I'm pretty close. I think I will be pretty close, and so I'm not really too worried about it at this point. So I guess that's all for works, for finished projects. So I'll show you some works in progress now. This is another Alaska colorway. Of course, if I was knitting myself something while in Alaska, I needed a more vanilla project for my husband while I was at it. So this is what I have been very slowly working on for him. This was, this really got less attention, but I kept it in my purse for, sitting at restaurants or while we were driving around, that kind of thing. But the scenery was so incredible that I didn't really knit very much when we were out and about in Alaska. So these got less love, but they're for my husband, and he knows that, and he'll get them someday, and he's got a million pairs of socks already, so he's not really in a hurry, so it's fine. But this is also from Alaska Venture Co., and this colorway is called Pour Over, and my husband being a coffee fanatic, I thought that was kind of perfect for him. So someday these will go into his sock drawer, but the kids' Christmas socks have really kind of been on the front burner lately. So, but this is perfect. This little 9-inch circular is perfect for my walks with the dogs in the afternoons, and so that's kind of when they're getting some work, is when I'm walking outside with the dogs and I don't need something that has to take much attention. So these will be beautiful someday. And in the meantime, I'm enjoying working on them and remembering. This is still the first sock in this pair. I started this on the flight, one of the flights to Alaska. And so it did get a little bit of attention in each of the places that we stayed in Alaska and on the flights to and from. So it didn't get finished as quickly as this, or maybe didn't get as much love, but it's got some of that Alaska magic woven in there. Okay, next is another pair of socks, because it's basically all the socks all the time right now. This one is for my oldest son. I have, it's blending in with my clothes and it's all a mess. Anyway, I'm almost finished with the 10-inch leg here. Good night, this is a mess. I think I'm at like 9 inches on this one. This I'm knitting with Knit Picks. The lighting in here is not great, but it just is what it is today. This is Knit Picks Stroll Tweed, which I really do love. It makes a nice sock. I can't remember colorways. This is Reindeer Heather. I've knit with this before. I think I've shown it on the podcast before. My guys, my husband and my older son especially, really like the more muted colors. So we do lots of browns, as you can see. But I really love their tweed. And then this is, it's something C, Heather. It's also tweed, and it's a beautiful blue. I love this color. And I think that it makes the perfect little accent stripes on these socks. So this is just a 3x1 rib, very simple, very stretchy, which is a thing they really like. It can be hard to get a 10-inch leg over the heel of a foot. So they really like the stretchy fabrics. So I think my son will really love this. And I'm excited to give it to him for Christmas. He's almost 16, so like I said, he prefers the more muted colors. He's not as much into the bright things that he used to like, and so it's, you know, it's a little bit challenging, but it's fun to kind of find things that he likes as he changes and grows into a more adulty kind of person. So those are kind of my focus right now. I would like to finish this pair by the end of November if possible. I've only started this a couple of days ago and not had a ton of time. So I think I'm moving along pretty quickly. I think I should be able to, I don't know, at least get close. Thanksgiving coming up, that's going to take a lot of my time, but I won't have any trouble getting them done for Christmas, and that's the big thing. So let me see, next, excuse me, I've been getting over laryngitis, so bear with my froggy throat. The kids are gone today, and so it was like, this is happening, whether or not my voice is normal. So the next thing that I want to show is my coziest memory blanket, and I just love this. I started this before we moved to this house, which was 5.5 years ago. And I'm not sure how much before we moved. I think months before we moved. So this has been on the needles for like 6 years. And I almost, if you've seen my Instagram posts, you might already know this, but I almost just threw this away this summer because it's been sitting in a basket in a closet for something like 6 years. And I was just kind of tired of it sitting there. Like, I would see it and think, ugh, that's a thing that I haven't touched in forever. I should probably just do something about that. And I felt like I'm never going to pick that back up. I don't really do scrappy things. I should just throw it away. And I decided not to do it right then. Just give myself some time, think about it for a little while, and then if I still felt that way in a week or two, I'd throw it away. I didn't think about it again one way or the other. Didn't throw it away. And then when I was out of town this fall, late September, early October, I don't know what happened, but I suddenly wanted to work on this blanket. Of course, I hadn't taken it with me because I almost threw it away. Like, it was not a thing I was working on. It was very much in hibernation. But suddenly I wanted to work on it. And so when I got home at the end of that week, I pulled it out, and it has more than doubled since then. It's kind of been moved to the back burner because I felt like I needed to focus on socks, but it sits by my chair in this sweet little basket, and it just makes me so happy. I love it. So I hope to work on that more, maybe through December as I'm finishing up the Christmas gifts and be able to focus more on some things like that. But I'm just really enjoying having it out again, and I don't know what made the difference. I don't know why I suddenly needed to work on it, but I'm so glad that I had not thrown it away and didn't have to start over. Right now, the square that I'm putting into it is my scraps from this cowl. This is the nugget colorway from Alaska Venture Co. from my cowl, and I'll put the green one in after that, sit next to it. And I just love, already, it's so small. It's going to be forever before this is an actual blanket that can cover me, but already it's so fun to look at it and remember where those yarns came from. This was a hat I made for my daughter last year. This made hats for my friends' daughters. Some of these I dyed. This first pink square was the first indie yarn I ever bought. I bought that from Adelaide Cottage years ago. So it's just fun having those sweet little squares. And I think of it as kind of patchwork for knitters, right? I have always loved quilts, but I'm not a quilter. And I think that this is kind of filling that for me. I don't know, but I think it's lovely. I'm so excited that I didn't throw it away. I also wanted to mention this basket that I showed a minute ago. All of my life, my dad has done mission work. He is a preacher. So for most of my life, he has done mission work primarily in Jamaica. Jamaica was an easy kind of first place because they speak English, and so there was less of a barrier there. And then after he went the first time, he just fell in love with the people and the culture. It's a beautiful place, and so he always kept going back. So for most of my life, since a couple of years before I was born until the last few years, he has gone to Jamaica twice a year, and it's just been a huge part of our lives, our family, like I said, my entire life. So when I was either not born yet or a very small child, my dad brought this basket back from Jamaica for my grandmother, his mother. She died when I was 12, and that basket was given back to my parents. And then just recently, my mom passed it on to me. And so having that kind of double meaning there, extra layers of sentimentality, being from a place that I love and that has been big for our family and important to our family, and then also that was my grandmother's for several years. That's been really special. And so that's another thing that just kind of makes me smile when I see it there sitting by my chair. It's just waiting for me to work on it when I can. But I love it. Oh, and I forgot, I have one more sock whip that I almost forgot to share. This is another kids' Christmas sock. This one is for my daughter, my middle daughter, who is almost 15. Again, she likes goodness, I need to wave all these ends in. She likes the short leg, and so that's a really nice, quick project after doing a bunch of boy socks with the long leg. I'm almost to the toe here. I've got my markers. I mark every 20th row so I know, I can easily match the second sock to the first. So I'm almost to the toe, and then that second one will whip up very quickly. This yarn is from Big Sky Yarn Co. This is her Robbie colorway. Cassie is a friend of mine. She gave me this yarn last year about this time, and my daughter immediately said, I love that, I want that. And I didn't have a specific plan for it, so I just kind of set it aside for her, and I've had it in my stash ever since, and I think she's just gonna love this. Blues and purples, like I mentioned, these are for the same daughter that this pair is for, and these blues and purples and greens are just so much her thing. And this is also the blues, purples, greens are very much her favorite color family. So I think she's going to love these. She has seen and commented on it, knitted up a little bit, but whether or not she knows they're hers, she's at least good about pretending. So that's also the first sock. I'm doing the first sock for her and the first sock for my son at the same time. Kind of focusing more on the socks for my son because they take longer. But anyway, those are the things that I'm kind of alternating between right now that are getting most of my focus. So I think that's all of my current whips right now. So to move into kind of a dream knitting, right now I am swatching. This has grown just a little bit while I've been talking. I'm swatching for a hat for a friend. This is Ella Ray Classic Wool that I bought from my local yarn shop. And I tell you, after years of not having a local yarn shop, I love being able to say that. That's so fun. But it's just a really nice rustic worsted weight wool. And I'm going to try the bankhead hat. I've had that pattern in my pattern file forever, and I've never made it. And so I'm excited I'm swatching up to figure out needle size right now because I tend to knit kind of small. I usually have to move up at least one needle size for a project. So I'm swatching today, and this will not be a first front burner project because again, kids socks. But I am hoping to be able to work this in sometime in the next couple of months. I think it will be lovely. My other big dream knitting project, this is for a gift, as I mentioned, which is most of what I do during this time of year. But I have been knitting for nearly this week. It's been 11 years since I learned to knit, and I have never knit myself a sweater. I have knit 3 sweaters for my husband. I have knit multiple baby sweaters and other garments. I have crocheted sweaters for some of my children and knitted sweaters for others of them, and they all keep reminding me that they've all outgrown those and they need more. But I never knit myself a sweater. My mother-in-law, who has passed away now, every time I would knit a sweater for my husband or socks for somebody else, she would always tell me, you need to make yourself a sweater. And I always told her, someday I will, when I find the right one that I can't not think about or can't not knit. And so it's a thing that I've kind of been thinking about the last couple of years that, I've been knitting a long time now. It would be nice to be able to wear a sweater that I've made. And so I finally ordered yarn. It hasn't arrived yet, but I am going to knit myself the Be Thankful cardigan, and I am so excited. I ordered Knit Picks Simply Wool Aran in the Wallace colorway. It's a nice brown color, very neutral, which I like, and obviously we do a lot of brown, I guess, around here. Browns and blues are kind of my thing, so I'm really excited to work on that, and that's another reason that I'm kind of trying to get my gift knits done and stashed. I would rather not be working feverishly on gifts all through December. I'd kind of like to do some selfish knitting once I get my gifts done. So I was hoping that the mail would come today and I would be able to show my yarn because it's supposed to arrive today, but it hasn't come yet. So, oh well, you'll see it someday. But I'm really excited to work on that. And then I don't know, some kind of bug has bitten me. I'm already kind of planning other sweaters for after that. So we'll see. But there's always something to work on. And because I'm such a process knitter, I don't mind putting the things for me on the back burner. After we get through Christmas, I have 2 children with a January birthday and a February birthday. So I'll be working on birthday socks as well around the new year. So there's always something to work on, and I'm not in a big hurry. It'll just happen when it happens, but I am very excited to get started. So I guess that's all I have to show knitting wise. I did want to share, so in my previous episodes, I've talked some about other things I'm enjoying right now. And I've been reading a whole lot. I have actually done more reading this year than I've kind of fallen out of the loop of some of the knitting podcasts that I watch, and there's just not enough hours in the day for all the things I want to do. But this is my current read, Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is a very old book. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's also a very long book, and while I read all the time, I tend to shy away from the really long books. Part of me is always, there's always so many things to do, like with knitting, I've got all these whips that are going at the same time, and there's always more that I want to knit. So I think part of it is that I just have so many books kind of in my queue. I literally have stacks of books in my house that I want to get to, and so I think I shy away from the ones that are going to take longer because, in the time it takes me to read this, I could read 3 or 4 other books. But I think, there are some really, really good long books out there. So I didn't want that to stop me forever. So I bought myself a pretty copy, and I'm working on it, honestly, kind of slowly. Some moments I feel like the story is really flowing, and then there are some where it's just like it kind of drags for several pages, and I'm not sure if that's me or the writing or both. But I feel like these books that have stood the test of time, that have been around for so long, and that so many people have loved, even if it's not your favorite story, there's some value there. And so I'm excited to read one of those books that everybody is supposed to read. So far, I guess I'm enjoying it, but I'm not completely absorbed, but I'm hoping maybe I'll get there. I'm 15 chapters in, and they're still kind of introducing some people and some things, and so I guess it's when you have 800 pages, maybe it's typical to have a slower burn, I guess. So the jury is still kind of out on that one, but I am glad that I'm reading it, if that makes sense. So that's one of the ways I'm spending my time lately. I also always have an audiobook going, or 2 or 3, and my children and I are still doing our book club tea times. So the girls and I are reading a book called To Have and To Hold by Mary Johnston. It is a very old book set in Puritan Virginia, while it was still a colony before the Revolutionary War. It's a story that I told them it has enough romance for my oldest daughter and enough sword fighting and shipwreck for my middle daughter. They have very, very different interests. My younger daughter kind of falls in between the two, so it's not uncommon that she will like something one of the others likes, but they don't typically want to read the same things. So it's a little bit challenging to find a book that will satisfy both of them. So that's really fun. We're only a few chapters in, but they're all enjoying it. I've read it a couple of times before, and I already know that I love it, so I'm excited to share it with them. The boys and I are still working through the Sherlock Holmes stories, the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. We have made it most of the way. We're almost finished with, I think, the second to last book in the collection. So we really have enjoyed that. We've read all the short stories, and then there are a couple of shorter novels that we're working through. Right now we're reading The Valley of Fear, and I think the last one is, I don't remember and I can't see it, so anyway, we're almost through that whole set, and it has taken us a while. Our format is a little different. I don't remember how much I talked about this last year, but the girls and I read a set number of chapters. We agree on a set number of chapters for the week, and then we have tea and discuss what we've read. The boys are, they're just different from the girls, and the younger two, I think, would not hang with my older son and me as well. If I assigned them a certain number of chapters, they would be likely to forget or not get it done. But I really wanted this to be fun and no pressure, and so instead of deadlines, adding one more assignment that feels like work, we read the chapters together at tea. So on a good day, we only get through 2 chapters for the week. So we move more slowly, but I think it's really been good for us. And someday maybe I will have them kind of adopt the girls the way I do it with the girls, but our format is fun for now, and it doesn't hurt to go slower. So we're enjoying it. We're all really having fun with Sherlock Holmes. Other than that, we had a really busy couple of months with travel. Like I mentioned, we were in Alaska for the first part of September, and then we were only home for a few days before we left again for our annual homeschool camp. It's a family camp that meets in North Carolina, and my husband and I are on the board of directors, and so there's a lot of planning and work that goes into the camp leading up and during that week. So that was wonderful as always, and just also very busy. After that, we have kind of tried to get into a normal routine again, get back into our school routines and household normalcy. I forgot to mention that right before Alaska, we were at the beach for our family vacation. We already had that booked before the wedding date was set, and so it was a little bit crazy, but we made it work. I think we were home for 2 days between those trips, and literally in 2 weeks' time, we went from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of Alaska. So that was really interesting, that very quick shift in weather and scenery, but it was all just beautiful. I think that's really it. I should probably wrap this up before the dogs start losing their minds. They've been so quiet and patient while I've been recording, but I could hear them getting restless in the next room. So I will go for now, and I am so excited to be back with you. I hope to see you again in just a couple of weeks, and I hope that you all are doing well. Have a wonderful day.